The Lewis women's basketball team is making school history this week in South Dakota, and the Lewis baseball and softball teams open their home seasons. We'll have the latest in Lewis athletics coming up right now. Hello and welcome to Flyer Nation, your source for the latest news in Lewis athletics. Thanks for joining us here on LUTN and online. I'm Shane Gustafson.
And I'm Noelle Trainer. Joining us later on in the show is Lewis head tennis coach Brett Bridel. He'll talk about both team meets over the weekend as well as their first home meet scheduled for this week.
We'll also provide a preview of the women's basketball team as they head to the Elite Eight for the first time in school history. But before we get to that, let's take a look at some other Flyer sports headlines. For the first time in school history, the Lewis women's basketball team has advanced to the Elite Eight in the NCAA National Championships. After picking up the Midwest Regional title last week, the ladies boarded the plane and flew to South Dakota this weekend, where they'll take on other top-ranked schools from across the nation. The first game for the ladies is Tuesday night when they'll take on Limestone College, who's making their second appearance in the tournament in as many years. The Flyers enter their first game with a 31-2 record, with their last loss coming in the semifinal round of the GLVC tournament. Meanwhile, Limestone holds a 33-1 record and hasn't lost since November 15th against Newberry. After last week's win over Ashland, which clinched the regional title, Lewis head women's basketball coach Lisa Carlson talked about the keys to that game, as well as what the team needs to work on going into the national tournament.
Let me start by saying that this group has made history from day one when they stepped on the court. When you really think about what the whole body of work has been for this year's group, there's a lot of firsts in history. So I don't think that they're overly intimidated or anxious or anything about where we've gone. One of our goals was to win a regional championship, but their ultimate goal is to win a national championship, and they've said that from the beginning. There's been a couple times this year that I've challenged upperclassmen before, and they respond really well to that. You know, sometimes they need to be reminded just how dominating they can be. You know, they're great kids and they're nice kids, and sometimes we're too nice. And we need to be reminded that there's, you know, our post combination, in my opinion, is one of the best in the region. We were playing against another great post combination tonight.
The NCAA National Championship game is Friday in South Dakota. The ladies have to win their next two games in order to advance to the final round.
The number 3 Lewis men's volleyball team played 2 games last week and added 2 more conference victories to their record. The men played IPFW on Tuesday night in a makeup match. The guys started the first game a little rough and fell to the Mastodons by just 2 points, but rebounded in the next 3 sets thanks to help from redshirt senior Jeff Powell, who picked up 16 kills and 2 aces on the night. Junior Bobby Walsh added 10 kills, and the Flyers took the match 3-1. The team looked to continue their success on the road at McKendree on Saturday night and looked strong to start the game, but couldn't rally against the Bearcats in the second set. Senior Greg Petty stepped up to deliver 17 kills in the game, and the Flyers pulled away from McKendree 3-1. After the game against IPFW, head men's volleyball coach Dan Friend talked about the match and the team's overall recovery.
We started getting the engine going, both offensive and defensive wise. I started putting some pressure on them from the serving line and kind of opened up our block defense stuff. And then from the offensive side, those guys kind of dialed in passing wise. We got our middles going and got us into a groove offensively, and then kind of just stepped on the gas all the way through the rest of the match.
The men are back in action this Thursday night when they welcome Ball State to the Neal Carey Arena.
The outdoor track and field season started in Alabama over the weekend, and both teams saw success in several events. On the women's side, senior Rebecca Preisler won the pole vault competition with an NCAA automatic qualifier of 4.05 meters. Sophomore Amanda Farrow won the 5K with a time of 16:27.01, and junior Chantel Stennis had success in the meet, taking 6th place in the 400-meter run. On the men's side, senior Andrew McLean won the 5K, and sophomore Sean Milhauser placed 8th in the 1,500-meter run. The Flyers also saw success from sophomore Michael Leet, who finished 3rd in the 3,000-meter run. Lewis head track and field coach Dana Schwartig said the team performed well, but still needs a little more training before their next meet. Both teams compete again next weekend at the Bellarmine Invitational.
The Lewis baseball team had a rough start to their home season over the weekend when they played 4 games against William Jewell. The Cardinals started the first game of the weekend series with a 2-run homer, and William Jewell never looked back from that point. The Cardinals held the lead over the Flyers throughout the entire game and came away with a 4-2 victory. The Flyers tried to regroup in the second game, but had another rough second inning when the Cardinals put 5 runs on the board. The Flyers couldn't fight back and fell 7-1. The team tried again on Sunday, but still didn't have any luck against William Jewell, falling 3-2 in Game 1 and 5-1 in Game 2. Head baseball coach Tim McDonough said this weekend was a hard one for the team, but they'll regroup moving forward. The team plays this Wednesday on the road against Upper Iowa.
The softball team also started their home season this weekend and picked up 2 wins in 4 games. On Saturday, number 4 UMSL made a visit to the Lewis softball field. The game was tied through 8 innings until freshman Jenna Cairo stepped up to the plate and crushed a 2-run homer to give the Flyers a 5-3 victory. But the Tritons fell back in the second game of the doubleheader and put up 4 runs on the board in the 7th inning, and the ladies fell 5-3. Sunday was a little bit better for the team when they welcomed Maryville to the softball field. The ladies tied the first game going into the 7th and won on a walk-off hit, taking the 6-5 victory. But the Saints came back in the second game and shut down the Flyers' bats. Maryville took that game 11-0. The team is back in action at home on Tuesday when they take on Grand Valley State University.
Both Lewis tennis teams played this weekend and picked up their first GLVC victories. The women's team traveled to St. Joseph College on Saturday and picked up 2 big wins in doubles action to help them put themselves in a good position to win the match. The team also performed strong in singles action and picked up 2 wins to add to the team's overall 5-0 victory. Meanwhile, the men's team also traveled to St. Joseph's and picked up a victory of their own. The men picked up 2 wins in doubles competition and added a win in the singles event to lead to the 5-2 GLVC victory. The men also played a match against DePaul on Saturday evening, but were swept by the Blue Demons. Both teams are back in action this week when they play their first matches at home against UMSL.
Both Lewis golf teams spent the weekend in Kentucky at 2 different events. The men's team competed in the Cardinal Invitational hosted by Saginaw Valley State and had a strong weekend overall, winning their 4th event of the season thanks to help from junior Alex Thode, who took home an individual championship in the tournament. The Flyers finished the weekend with a .596, which was low enough to earn the team the first place position. Meanwhile, the women's team played at the Perry Park Spring Fling Tournament and finished in 8th place overall. The ladies shot .958 on the weekend and were helped by sophomore Rachel Sweeney, who shot .231 on her own. The ladies are back in action next weekend at the Prairie Bluff Golf Course, while the men travel to Batavia, Ohio to take on Bellarmine in their invitational. But it's good to see the women's basketball team doing so well, going to South Dakota and playing in the Elite 8 for the first time in school history.
It's really, really exciting, and they've worked hard, so they deserve it, and hopefully they can just keep this momentum going and make it far in the championships.
Hopefully they can do that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk with Lewis head tennis coach Brett Bridel. Stay tuned.
Look at me. Hey.
Raymond, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry.
Maybe he can't hear us.
Maybe we're not stimulating him enough. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back to Flyer Nation. The weather in the Chicagoland area is unpredictable, and even though it's technically spring, there is still some snow on the ground. But even with the cold weather, both of the Lewis tennis teams are hitting the court and getting ready to start their spring seasons. Both teams have already played 12 games since the beginning of January, including 2 wins over the weekend. Joining me now to talk about the season so far is Lewis head tennis coach Brett Bridel. Thanks for coming out and joining us today, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started talking about the 2 games this weekend. Both teams played St. Joe's over the weekend. Both teams came away with wins in those matches. What worked well for the teams this weekend?
You know, it was actually a big test because we actually played indoors in a gymnasium in a multi-purpose thing, and that's never a good thing. It was like a rubberized surface. It was really dark. So besides the challenges of having to play tennis against an opponent, the environment we were in caused a big challenge. It was, not like a regular tennis court, so it was difficult. But I was glad that we fought through the adversity there of that. And the men's side, we didn't play our best tennis, but found a way to get the job done. And the women actually played very well. They took care of business rather quickly, right on task, and that was good.
So you talked about the women's team. They're starting the spring with a 5-4 record. The men coming in with a 7-4 record. How important are these early season games to making their records very strong? Yeah,
it's in the beginning we've been practicing for 7-8 weeks, and and then we're going to get out there. It's like taking a test in a class. You're going to find out what you've accomplished over those weeks of practice, and so those matches are important to find out where we stand when it comes time to compete, and what individual things we might need to work on, either as a doubles team or individually with these players in the singles matches that it's not translating from the practice court to the match court. So those matches are really important to find out where we stand, and to get a good start in the spring is a good idea too. Just helps later on to try to make it to the GLVC conference tournament.
Now the tennis season is a little bit of an interesting one. You have a spring season and a fall season. Obviously the fall season already happened, going into the spring season now. How do you work with the team to make sure that they don't lose anything between the fall and spring seasons?
Yeah, with NCAA rules, we're kind of limited to what we're able to do in that transition between there. Basically, after about mid-October, our tennis activity shut down. We're working on fitness, quickness, things like that, but it's not tennis. It's really up to our athletes to find time to get out and practice and do those things on their own, and we're hoping they do that because we don't get to see them until January 15th on the tennis court. And so we can tell the ones that haven't been doing much, and we can tell the ones who have. But our job's still the same. We got to get them ready to compete by the end of January, and the matches that are starting in February.
So a couple of weeks ago over spring break, the teams took a trip down to Florida. The men's team also traveled to Georgia and played down there. What was the significance of those trips to Florida and Georgia for both teams?
Yeah, that's really important for us. Tennis is an outdoor sport, and while it doesn't look like it right now with the snow coming down, it gives us a chance to, after our 7-8 weeks of playing indoors, to get down and practice outside, play matches outside. It's one of the hardest things to do in college tennis or in tennis in general, is the transition from playing indoors to outside. Completely different game, and so it allows us to get out, get a lot of hours of practice in outdoors, and get those matches in outdoors. So when we come back, hopefully we're more battle ready and ready to play outside.
So you have a few newcomers to the team. You have 2 freshmen on the women's team. You also have Jamie Drez, who's new to the team on the women's side. And then on the men's side, you have 5 freshmen. How do you and your coaching staff work with the new freshmen and the new players to make sure everybody kind of meshes together?
Yeah, that's where those those weeks of trying to prepare, getting to know these players, their games, and them getting to know us, so we can work together effectively. But it's been great. These kids, they came in eager. And wanting to improve and get going in college tennis, so that's always fun. One of the things in coaching is it's the transition all the time of players coming in and leaving, and I hate to see them leave, but it's great when we get new faces and new people to work with, and so that's one of the parts I love about my job. So.
And one of the guys that you coach that hasn't left is Uno Lapima, who this is his first year as an assistant coach. Played at Lewis, as I mentioned. Now he's an assistant coach. How does he help the team?
He's outstanding. Not only was he an outstanding player here, I absolutely love this guy, but he is a great coach. He gets the instant respect from the players because of his tennis ability. He knows tennis really well. One of the things that helps me most is, he played here for 4 years. He kind of knows how, our tennis program runs and how a strange guy like me works, and so it really helps me. There's no trying to teach someone, hey, this is how we're going to do it. He's been around, and that makes it a whole lot nicer for our team and our program when there's just that seamless transition from one assistant to another.
So last season, the women's team went 16-5, made it to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. The men, though, only 5-11. What can you guys take from last year on both sides and bring into this year going forward?
Yeah, on the women's side, it was another fantastic year for the ladies, and we lost two of maybe the best players we've ever had in Lewis history from that team. But and that's, I don't know if you can replace them, but we're doing the best we can. But I like our women's team. They're working hard. I see the improvement in every single match. And I don't know if we're going to make it to the Sweet 16, but we are going to battle every match we're out there playing. And then on the men's side, it was just a tough year for us last year. We lost a few guys from our roster and some unforeseen things that we didn't expect. And so we were a little shorthanded. But again, I thought that going out there and battling the way we did in the situation we were dealt, I had a feeling it was going to help us for this year, and it did. I think the guys who are back from that grew from that experience, made them tougher, and now with these added guys, even though they didn't go through that experience, meshing with the guys that are back from last year, I just think that the combination of that is helping us already this year, and I think it's going to continue helping us later on in the season.
All right, so the first matches of the year, first home matches I should say, were scheduled for this week. Obviously, not going to happen with the snow on the ground. Those matches against UMSL have been canceled. But if Flyer fans come out to watch Lewis tennis this year, what can they expect to see?
I think they're going to see a lot of energy, a lot of people who are excited about playing, and hopefully some good tennis. I think our team's working very hard and improving all the time, and so I think you'll see some good tennis and high energy and great kids.
All right, well, Coach, anything else you'd like to add while you're here today?
No, thanks for having me here, and go Flyers.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned here on Flyer Nation. We'll be right back.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Really?
Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Flyer Nation. The Lewis women's basketball team is continuing their successful season. Over the weekend, the ladies traveled to South Dakota where they'll play in the NCAA National Tournament. The team takes on their first opponent on Tuesday night, and joining me now to preview that game is David Ritterhoff, the sports editor for the Lewis Flyer newspaper, as well as a sports broadcaster here on LUTN and WLRA. Thanks for coming out and being our expert today, David.
I've been following the team all season. I enjoy watching them and following them. I've been all over their NCAA tournament run so far. It's been impressive. So I'm excited to even talk about them, really.
Yeah, I mean, it really has been a very impressive run for the team. And I mean, I guess you've covered them a lot. So have I. What has stood out to you so far this season as one of the most successful things that the team's done?
Oh, I think really one of the best things is the fact that they always have at least 2 players on their team who can score. Mariah Henley seems to always be scoring. Jamie Johnson seems to always be scoring. But if one of them can't, for whatever reason, score that night, they're having an off night, they have someone like Alexis Grayer who could step in. They have someone like Nikki Nellen who could step in. There's always just somebody else to step in, score points on. That's why you're not going to see them lose 50 to 40 in a game. They're going to put up 50 points. They're going to put up 60, 70 maybe. They've hit 100 a couple times this year. So scoring is definitely their strongest point right now.
And you talk about the bench. I mean, the Flyers do have a lot coming off the bench. Alexis Greer, like you said, but it's really whenever Coach Carlson needs some extra help in a game, she can always go to the bench and get those girls in the game.
Yeah, definitely. The really good thing about the Flyers bench is the fact that it's not just scorers like Alexis Greer. They do have defensive players such as Alyssa Dangler. They have somebody who can run the point. Not an offensive specialist, not a defense specialist. Somebody who could run the point, facilitate offense, play good defense, and Alyssa Seawick. And they just have so many good players on their bench. They only usually go 8, maybe 9 deep in a game. When they do go 8 or 9 deep, those 8th and 9th players don't play that much worse than their number 1 and 2 players.
Now, the Flyers haven't really lost that many games this year, only losing 2, one to Drury and then once again in the GLVC semifinal round. But having lost 2 games, their first opponent, Limestone, who they take on Tuesday, has only lost 1 game this year. It was back in November. Do you think, from your view as a commentator, do you think that the Flyers having a loss more recently might mean a little less pressure on them?
I don't know if I would say less pressure. I feel like a lot of teams need to get 1 loss out of their system, but I don't think that second loss is going to matter all that much. I think as long as you're not going to the tournament with an undefeated record, you're not saying we need to keep this winning streak up. You're saying we need to win in advance. It's either you win or you go home. So I think if you're not playing for that undefeated season, like some teams, like in Division 1 men's basketball, there's a team doing it. Division 1 women's basketball, there's a team doing it. But in this tournament, nobody's going into it undefeated. Nobody's looking to finish off an undefeated season. There's really no pressure to keep a winning streak alive. I don't think any team's adding any pressure onto themselves to continue that perfection that they could be on.
But at the same time, if they don't win, they go home. So it's kind
a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So there is pressure, even though there isn't trying to maintain that perfect record. But like we said, the women's basketball team, very successful year so far, making it to the Elite Eight for the first time in school history. That has to add a little bit too, though. I mean, when you look at this team for the first time in school history, you're saying we're the only team that's been here before us. That has to add a little bit of pressure to you as well.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. You see it a lot in really any kind of tournament, any kind of sports tournament. The team that's been there before, the team that has continued success, is always on top, always right there. Seem to just do better in these tournament situations where they kind of just know, what? Honestly, this isn't one or done. I feel like they don't have as much pressure because even though they're going to win the tournament, they're still like, what? Honestly, if we're all freshmen, sophomores here, we've been here every year.
Right.
We can come back here next year.
And not to cut you off there, but the women's basketball team does play very well under pressure, too. I mean, we've seen that several times. They've gone into games where they've been down by a significant, maybe a little bit of a significant amount going into halftime. Coming out of the locker room in the second half, they play very well to come back and get back in games.
And I think that's really a testament to Lisa Carlson's, just her success as a head coach. I think that's really one of the keys for the Flyers moving forward is the fact that they're never really done for in a game. There's always a chance where they could just make one little adjustment, and that could be the difference between them winning, losing games. And I think Lisa Carlson's coaching ability, as long as we talked about the bench earlier, are one of the reasons why Lewis still is definitely a very, very strong team moving forward.
And you talk about the team moving forward, the core of their team has played together for the past 4 years. The five starters on the team, the 3-4 years they've played together, the chemistry, the friendships they've built, that can only help them moving forward.
There's no doubt about that. Chemistry is so huge. You see it all the time in basketball, where just having the knowledge of where somebody's going to be on the floor instead of just having to hope they're going to be there is huge. So whether it be somebody making a backdoor cut, that really you have to see that before the other team does. Otherwise, they'll be able to stop it. That's something the Flyers do so well, is they know exactly where everyone's going to be on the floor. They're always knowing just exactly what the other people are thinking on the floor, and that is testament, as you mentioned, to their chemistry, to their time together, to the coaching as they work on that in practice, I'm sure. And it's definitely one of the reasons why every game, every season is built up to this one big moment right now.
So I don't know how many of their championship games that you watched last week when they won the regional, but just looking at them as a whole this season and those games last weekend, what in your mind stands out as one of the best things that this team does when they need to perform?
I think it really is, and I kind of just touched on earlier, was their ability to find scorers. If Alexis Greer comes off the bench, she's a volume shooter who can put up 20 points in a game. But if she's not, then the team, I don't want to say it doesn't pass to her, because they do pass to her, but Alexis kind of knows, all right, I'm not the hot hand tonight. Let me pass it off to Jamie Johnson, who is shooting well. Let me feed the post where Jess Reinhardt and Mariah Henley are both playing so well tonight. They're just smart about that. They can see who's hot, who's scoring, who's confident, and get the ball to them while also, not straying away from what they do best, which is, Alexis shooting threes, Jess, working the mid-range post game, high post game, and so they don't stray away from that too much. They also know, all right, maybe it's not my time right now. I'll give to this person. All
right. Well, David, any final thoughts about the team while you're here today?
I think it's going to be tough, but Limestone's a great team. They're playing
They
first
really are.
round. There's a lot of very good teams this tournament. But, I think Lewis is going to stick with them pretty tough. I don't see any blowouts by Lewis. I'm not going to predict any victories or losses. I predict close games, and that's
Close
it.
games. I would agree with you on that one. All right, well, thanks for coming out and joining us, David.
Not a problem. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back here on Flyer Nation.
2 outs with a runner on first base. Now the big guy comes up to bat, hitting .342 with 92 RBIs and 36 homers.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just, please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
The softball season just started, but several teams have already started playing conference games. Let's take a look at the current early season standings. The Flyers are still sitting in 8th place after splitting their games over the weekend. Indianapolis, Truman State, and Bellarmine hold the top 3 positions in the conference, while Drury, UW Parkside, and Missouri S&T are sitting at the bottom of the conference.
It's still early in the baseball season, but conference play has already started. The Flyers lost all 4 of their games this weekend, but let's see where they are in the standings. The team is currently sitting in 6th place in the GLVC Eastern Division. Indianapolis, Illinois Springfield, and Bellarmine are sitting in the top 3 positions, while Southern Indiana and McKendree round out the division.
Both tennis teams also played conference games this weekend. Let's take a look at where they currently sit in the early GLVC standings. On the women's side, the team is sitting in 3rd place behind Bellarmine and Indianapolis. Southern Indiana and McKendree sit at the bottom of the division. The Flyers are still in 3rd place on the men's side behind Indianapolis and Southern Indiana. Bellarmine and McKendree are still at the bottom of the division.
The men's volleyball team picked up 2 victories last week, but didn't move up or down in the MIVA standings. Let's take a look. Loyola is still sitting in 1st place with their 8-1 record, while the Flyers are sitting in 2nd place, but still have the same 8-1 conference record. Ohio State is sitting in the 3rd place position. Lindenwood, Grand Canyon, and McKendree are the 3 teams at the bottom of the conference.
It's time to announce our Flyer Nation Player of the Week awards, and we'll start off with Alex Thode of the men's golf team. Thode helped the team in their tournament over the weekend and also took home an individual championship from the event. Thode is a junior on the team and has stepped out to help the Flyers since arriving on campus.
Our second Flyer Nation Player of the Week award goes out to Jenna Cairo from the softball team. Cairo helped the team over the weekend by hitting a 2-run home run in the first game against number 4 UMSL. Her home run put the final runs on the board to lead to a Flyers victory. Cairo is a freshman on the team and has played in her first home game over the weekend. Well, it's good to see Jenna Cairo get the 2-run home run in her first home game of her collegiate career to win that game.
I know, what a way to just come in and take over and just smash that home run out of there. So good for her, yeah, really great.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back here on Flyer Nation.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
The Lewis men's volleyball team returns home this week, and there could be a few outdoor games for the first time this semester. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule. On Tuesday afternoon, the softball team is taking on Grand Valley State in a doubleheader. First pitch for Game 1 is set for 2 o'clock, and Game 2 is set to begin at 4 o'clock. Live stats can be found at lewisflyers.com. Also on Tuesday night, the Lewis women's basketball team plays their first game in the NCAA Elite 8 against Limestone. That game starts at 8:30 and can be seen online at lewisflyers.com. On Thursday evening, the Lewis men's volleyball team welcomes Ball State to the Neal Carey Arena. First serve is set for 7 o'clock and can be seen here on LUTN Channel 6, as well as heard on our radio station, WLRA 88.1 FM. And on Saturday, the Lewis softball team is at home taking on St. Joe's in a doubleheader. Game 1 is scheduled to start at noon, with the second game starting at 2 o'clock.
Be sure to support the Lewis women's basketball team in South Dakota this week as they play in the NCAA National Championships. You can catch all of the games online at lewisflyers.com or on the official NCAA website. If the team advances to the championships, you'll be able to watch the game on CBS Sports Network as well. And if you tweet during the games, be sure to mention Lewis women's basketball.
So like we said, the women's basketball team playing in the Elite 8, first time in school history,
Yeah.
so hopefully a lot of support comes from the Flyer fans this week.
Right, yeah. Flyer fans just really got to get out there, support the women's team, and hopefully we can make it far.
Absolutely. All right, well, that will do it for us this week here on Flyer Nation. Thanks for joining us.
Be sure to join us next week right here on LUTN for the latest in Flyer athletics.
From all of us here at Flyer Nation, have a great day.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. We beg to differ. They are snapshots that represent lasting memories, stories to be told for years to come. Our story is one pictured not just with trophies, but with diplomas, friendships, a helping hand. New chapters beginning every season. This is the story of the Great Lakes Valley Conference.